Welcome to Freedom. It is today's edition of the Inter-University Debates on Civic Space TV. I am Phillip Muliisa. Today, the panel has a lady and two gentlemen, and we are looking at the beauty of service delivery in this government, and the topic guiding us today is, should government carry out service delivery through donations or equitable service delivery? Now, joining me in that conversation is a panel of distinguished young people of this country whom I will ask to introduce themselves. And I think I should start, since we are in the month of March and Women's Day was just a few days ago, I should start with the lady on the panel. You introduce yourself and talk to us about who you are, please.
Thank you so much, moderator. To our viewers out there, I greet you all. My name is Comfort Kashemire. I'm a student at Kyambogo University pursuing a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and I'm a guild representative counselor for the Faculty of Engineering, and I also serve as a guild deputy speaker. I'm happy to be here and, discuss issues of national importance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are most welcome, Madam Comfort Kashemire. Kashemire. Wow. By the end of the show, I would have heard it better. I'll go to the extreme end. Gentlemen, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Phillip. It's my pleasure to be here once again. Good morning, viewers and everyone here. My name is Nyombi Haruna. I'm a student of law at the Islamic University in Uganda, Kampala campus. I also serve actually, I'm the elected president of the University Human Rights Association. Maybe also to tell you that I'm aspiring to be the guild speaker.
Oh.
It's my pleasure to be here once again. I look forward to having a fruitful discussion.
Thank you. You are most welcome, and we wish you the best of luck in that quest, but also very big CVs. I can't wait to hear the next CV. Gentlemen.
Yes, Mr. Muliisa.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, greetings to all our viewers there. My name is Khule Ronald Mbinga, and I am the dismissed guild speaker of Lira University. I'm a student of Lira University. I've been pursuing Bachelor of Science in Midwifery, and I happen to be the guild speaker of the previous guild government. And as I've quoted, apparently I'm dismissed, but I am so privileged, and I feel good when I'm appearing here to talk on matters of national importance, which is really my passion. Thank you for hosting us, Mr. Muliisa. We believe it will be a fruitful discussion.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to have you. Key to note is actually yesterday we started the holy month of Ramadan, and from Civic Space TV, we wish every Muslim brother, sister out there a happy, a successful month of Ramadan, but also not forgetting the people in Lent. The Christians often forget that they're actually fasting, and they only recognize Ramadan. So Ramadan, Lent, please, a successful one. And when I get back to you, I should start with my good counsel, Haruna. Service delivery through donations or equitably government giving out what it has to give out to citizens equally. What is your thought on that topic generally?
Well, thank you. When you look at the structure of government, you realize that world over, except for some countries which do not follow the rule of law, that governance should be done in such a way that there is equitable service delivery, because that is one of the tenets of rule of law in any democratic dispensation. Now, here in Uganda, our constitution, when you look at the national objectives and the directive principles of state policy, it requires that whoever is in charge of the state ensures that there is balanced and equitable development across the entire nation, regardless of who or what these people are, as long as there is a government, there should be service delivery at all levels to all people, regardless of where they are. Now, back to our topic. Service delivery through donations or equitable service delivery. I want to say that here in Uganda, when you talk about donations, you're not looking at things like maybe those charity, maybe programs that are done by maybe non-government organizations. Here you're now looking at a government that was given power to serve its people. So such a government cannot operate by way of just hand-picking, going from one place to the other or from one person to the other. There must be structures, there must be an institutional framework to ensure that things move in a planned manner and a coordinated manner. For instance, we do have institutions like the National Planning Authority, we have the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, even the legislature itself, because we're having members of parliament representing these different constituencies across the country. And therefore, through that, we get to know who needs what, at what time do they need it, and how much do they need. So we must at least rely on those institutions to determine how services are delivered to the citizens in terms of health, education, infrastructure. When you talk about the road network, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics must be able to tell us that this is now the population, maybe in this particular area, and let's say 100,000 people. For an example, like maybe in Nakauka, and they are using this particular road. If it's not in good condition, then definitely have a priority over that. To address that without looking at those people there, in comparison to a place where maybe there are no people. When you maybe prioritizing in terms of these resources, distributing these resources, you must base on statistics.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Haruna there. He talks to us about who should get what, when, and how. I want to come to you, yes, Mr. Khule. As you talk to me about what you think of the topic and how you understand it, talk to me about these services. What services are we exactly talking about?
Yes, once again, Mr. Muliisa, when we talk about donations and equitable services, when you talk about donations, we bring in the aspect of dependency, whereby, because when you look at donations, this is where you have philanthropic organizations, or the ones that we have termed as generous organizations, being given the mandate to ensure that the citizens access certain services. But when you talk about equitable service delivery, here we are talking about the aspect whereby we have the services equally distributed, whether by region, without considering anything, because in equitable service delivery, we will just deliver services to the citizen, to that targeted citizen. But when you talk about donations, we are bringing in the aspect of dependence, whereby the citizen has to depend on the benevolent community so that this citizen can actually indirectly access the services. One, maybe to add on what my brother Haruna has already submitted, we understand the fact that we have structures, statistic structures that will help avail the government with the population, the number, and then this information would help in the distribution of services so that we can have the equitable service delivery manner. But you find that most of these structures, they are not dependent. There is always that ghost aspect. You find that in the end, when it comes to the distribution of the services, there is no procedure, or they do not procedurally follow the right structures that have been already instituted. For example, we have had very many legislations. We have had very many acts. For example, the Public Finance Management Act. It gives vividly why we should actually adopt the manner of equitable service delivery. And when you observe it, it will give the criteria of planning and allocation. It has all those sub-themes. So you find that when there is proper planning, then you will be able to allocate. You know that these hospitals are going for a certain region because there is a particular number of citizens that are going to benefit from that service. So the services we are talking about here, we are talking about education services, health services, and so forth.
And in your view, should these services be entirely given by government, or it should be a combination of government and private sector?
Yeah, to that, I would say that we prioritize government. Because when we look at private sector, we are bringing in the aspect of dependency, whereby the citizen will depend on, I call them philanthropic communities, or what we have called the generous communities. That's when we talk about, when we bring in the aspect of private. Yes, we should prioritize equitable service delivery by government, but we should not do away with donations. Donations should come in as a backup, you know, to enhance what government is already doing. Because we understand, Mr. Muliisa, we understand that donations will actually give us a short-term development, but equitable service delivery is more reliable.
Thank you so much. Madam Kashemire, I'm sorry about the pronunciation of that name.
It's okay.
Nonetheless, I cannot avoid it. Talk to me. When you hear donations, and you see the donations we emphasize on this show now is, recently a story was published in a local newspaper, the Daily Monitor, that most of the big government offices, you go to the presidency, you go to Parliament of Uganda, the office of the leader of opposition, the speakership, the government chief whip, these people have huge sums of money put into their offices and captured as donation. I'm the chief whip of the government of the NRM, and I have 800 million shillings that I can just give out at will to anyone I feel like giving it. What does that sound like to you?
Thank you so much, moderator. Donations are not a reliable way to give services to provide services to our country, because first of all, you see, donations, it might be a kind of like an economic recovery, but it cannot facilitate something we call economic growth. When you talk about donations, let's say UNICEF, those donations that we get from those outside countries, most of them come with restrictions. You heard about this saga of the anti-homosexuality bill. You know how presidents were threatening to cut off their ties with our nation because of the anti-homosexual bill that was passed in Parliament. So I think when we rely more on donations, our country will not be an independent country, will not have a chance to focus on what makes our country develop, but will rather rely on those restrictions that come along with our donations. We have to first of all have to fulfill the requirements for the donations, and which I think that should not be really the way to go. We should go for something like equitable service delivery, because equitable service delivery, it will first of all ensure social justice and economic development, whereby if we have schools, let's say the UPE and the USE schools, they are going to be distributed equally across the whole country. If we are to talk about the health sector, building health centers, these health centers are going to be distributed equally among all the regions of the country. But donations will come with a particular goal for the donation. Maybe they're saying they're going to donate money towards HIV drugs. Of course, you're not going to use that money to build roads. So I believe that equitable service delivery would be the best way to go. But then again, we realize that we are in a low-developed country like Uganda, whereby you cannot rely entirely on our resources as Ugandans. So I believe we can have donations set aside, but the country should aim more on having, like, introducing these other, let me call them structures that can ensure equitable service delivery. For example, when you talk about the parish development model, that would be a very good example of an equitable service delivery. We are trying to give a long-term capital to members of the community, members of the informal sector, so that they can, you know, like they can have businesses, so that our country can at least get a wider tax base.
Are you trying to say that, for example, the money put in the office of the Speaker for donations should actually be added to the budget of parish development model?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nyombi Haruna,
Yes, please.
I come to you, and from the legal perspective, I know you are a land, should I call you land friend? Unfortunately,
Land
I'm not land, but
I'm a
nonetheless, your ignorant friend is asking. When you look at these monies, recently in the country we had a crisis of intern doctors. They were not deployed for over 3 years. We have a crisis of lecturers protesting at the universities, low pay. We have a crisis of lack of medicine in health facilities, from the National Referral Hospital, Mulago, to low at health center tools. No medicine, few doctors there, few nurses in there. The other time I was seeing there are some 3 districts that have access to only 1 doctor in this particular country. What do we be thinking legally when you go to Parliament and your mind is drawn to the legislators and they are crafting these laws? What is the intention of these legislators in putting this, can I call it redundant money in someone's office, yet there is an immediate service that needs attention?
Philip, I think there's just a challenge, especially if you're talking about the misuse of the monies. I think it's a problem to do with abuse of power. Like if someone is having...
Haruna, this is legal. It was passed in Parliament. We should give the President over 100 billion for donation. We should give the government chief whip 800 million for donation, the Speaker over $1 billion or 2, and so on.
This is my perspective. In my perspective, of course, interlinking it with the law, that yes, people are given the power to decide on allocation of the monies, and so you should do it in not in an ultra-vires way. That it should be within your mandate and in the interests of the people. Unfortunately, now it's being used for selfish interests. That because I have the power to allocate such and such amount of money to myself or even to my office, Philip is going to do nothing, so I can allocate whatever amount that I can do.
Are you saying these government officials are selfish?
Definitely, yes. Okay. That's total abuse of power. Using the power, though it's within the law, but you're using it for selfish interests, not what the legislators or even the people who brought up that law intended to. Now, when you look at now resource distribution, like I told you, you must have structures. When I was reading one of the reports from it's the Economic Research Policy Center, I think it's some kind of NGO. They were looking at the employment, the unemployment rates in the country, the levels of unemployment in the country. Now we are even having classes of unemployment. There is unemployment. Now that is typically the worst, where someone has no job. There are those who are underemployed. Yes, you have a bachelor's in midwifery, but the job that you're doing is you cannot relate. It's not relative to what you studied. Then there are those who are under vulnerable unemployment, I should say, or employment. People are just going there for survival. And therefore, because we have
I think our president did talk about that. He called it disguised employment.
Yeah, because you have nothing to do. So let me go for chukumi, anything that comes my way so that I get something to eat. So we should be looking at putting in place these institutions. In fact, they are there, but how do we manage that? Okay, how do we plan for these people? You get that? Otherwise, if you're talking about these donations, where there is a donor, there is a beneficiary. And many times where there is a beneficiary, this beneficiary has got no choice. You're more or less a beggar. A beggar has no choice. First, before you come in, you will have to wait. You cannot ask the other person or even order them that I need this. You have to wait. You're at the mercy of the person that is donating. They determine what to give you, what you should use, and even how to use it, or even when to give you that thing. So definitely, they will even do some kind of patronage. And that's what we are seeing in many places where we are having donations from particularly government officials, because these are the people that have access to these resources. So someone, because they have access to these resources, basically the money, they will come in such an area and say, okay, and in most cases it's done for political purposes. And the fact that we are going into the election period, you would have many of these everywhere. Someone comes with huge sums of money and you wonder where was this money before. But even when they bring this money, they are not bringing it in good faith. It's because I want Philip to do this for me, and therefore they want to use you. So it's more or less a bet. You do for me this, I do for you this. But when you are entitled to that service that you're supposed to get.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to engage exactly this gentleman on that particular issue, Khule.
Yes.
You see, often we say, and it is said by many scholars, politics is a dirty game. Now we get huge sums of money. We trust that kind of money with politicians whom we know are dirty, according to that statement. What kind of bet are we taking?
Yes, Mr. Philip, I will begin by saying that it needs a lot of commitment, real commitment, for government to prioritize the needs of the citizens, and then it can be able to allocate resources in a fair and a transparent manner. Because when you look at the scandal, you've talked of money is being given to politicians who are in a data game. Particularly, I will look at what is current now, the Uganda Parliament exhibition, whereby we are seeing huge sums of money being disbursed. You know, members of parliament are sharing money among us themselves. They're having a huge budget as donations. Yet, deep down, we don't have services. So, now, that's why I said it needs really commitment, serious commitment, patriotic commitment, for the government to understand the needs of the citizens, and then it can prioritize the resources so that it can allocate these resources in a fair and a transparent manner. Because, sincerely speaking, we have had very many enacted laws that actually, I have to say, they pin, according to what is happening in the country now, they pin most of the parliamentarians. Because we have I talked of the Public Finance Management Act, which has a sector of expenditure control. And of recent, we had our Minister of Finance saying the economy is, I think we can remember that. And then you cannot tell me that people are distributing amongst themselves money that has no accountability. For example, I will talk of this.
And you see, when you mention that,
yes,
it takes me to, and it's good you quote the Public Finance Management Act, but
yes,
also have a couple of other instruments. For example, the Presidential Emoluments and Benefits Act,
yes,
which stipulates exactly what amount of money should go to the presidency.
yes.
And when you check in the books, what should go there is half the budget put in that office for parties. The entire budget stipulated in the law is half what is currently being given to that office just for parties, not for any other activity, but parties.
Yes.
Why do we find ourselves there?
Actually, this is a very big reason, and I agree with my counsel, Mr. Haruna, that we have a selfish government. Yes, to be frank, we have a selfish government. Because one, I will look at our constitution. The constitution gives us a contractual relationship with the government, with the citizens. We have a contractual relationship with the government. But if I can relate, Council, we can relate with the Dinogo and Stevenson snail in the bottle case, where we have the rise of the duty of care principle in negligence, whereby there is, whereby the producer or the service provider has a duty of care to the consumer. This case, the consumer is the citizen. And in that case, yes, in that case, it is whether the relationship is non-contractual. But here we have a contractual relationship whereby instead of the producer thinking about we the consumers, who are the citizens, and actually we are the people who give them the power, for them they think about their parties. They're not thinking about the primary school in Kasaka. In my district, we have a primary school called the Kasaka. Actually, when I reached there, I even shed tears. And then you hear that even the leader of opposition is taking 400 million, 500 million that is not, that has no accountability. You get? So this is why this is a point. From here, I make a point that we have a greedy and selfish government. Not only government, but people in power are very greedy. They are selfish, because it is evident that even the opposition we are having is not minding about the equitable services that should be given to the citizen, but rather they are minding about how do I benefit and my family.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
He says we have a very greedy and selfish government.
Yes.
I don't think I can add anything to that, but if I come to you, Kashemire Comfort, I think I should give up and concentrate on comfort. Let's talk accountability. Excuse me. You see, when these people get this money, maybe we crucify them for nothing. Do they account for this money, and is the accountability worth it? Case in point, if we give the government chief whip 800 million to donate at will, the president hundreds of billions, the speaker billions, the prime minister billions, how do we then account for this money? How do I know that I gave this person 3 billion shillings and she was able to donate all the 3 billion shillings? Do they donate, or do they donate to themselves?
Thank you, our moderator. These people are really donating to themselves, and even the accountability that they are giving is not really worth the services that we are supposed to, like the accountability we are supposed to receive. Case in point, you recently heard of this livestock rollout issue, where we're buying a goat at 7.4 million, 7.4 million, and even the goats that they bought died in 1 week. If that is the accountability that we will really sit on and be like, we are satisfied, I don't think our country is going anywhere to maybe middle development countries and stuff like that. So at some point, I think we really need to, if we are to keep up with the donation service delivery, we need to find better ways of accounting for the money that those people are receiving. Otherwise, our Right Honorable Speaker will keep putting on clothes of 1 million a day, and the country will keep quiet. So I think we really need to, look at how best we can account for the money that those people are getting as donations. Else, we adopt the equitable service delivery model.
Thank you so much, and I must declare I'm not aware of the cost of the dress she puts on, and it is not the duty of Civic Space TV to determine that. Nonetheless,
Disclaimer.
It is said somewhere that some monies are spent on that dress. Now, Haruna,
Yes, please.
still accountability. This is a very big issue. You can't just run away. When you have 800 million to give away, how do we monitor this money? How is the criteria for choosing who to give and who not to give, and when and how?
Exactly. When you give me money to donate, you cannot dictate whom am I going to give and for what purposes. It's me to decide. Yet, if we're having a structured kind of program where we are operating through the institutions, we can hold the people in those institutions to be accountable. Unfortunately, you cannot do it under donations. We have institutions. If it's about health, we have the Ministry of Health. You go down up the district health, up to the district.
You see, Haruna,
Yes, please.
what you say is very beautiful. We have the institutions, but if I get you 1 or 2 examples, today 597 billion shillings have been disbursed through the Ministry of Health to construct a hospital at Lubowa. This is an institution, and we have not seen this hospital come up. Whom do we trust?
Now, that is a special case. How does it come in? There are people who are interested with this money. And of course, that's why, in fact, that's why we can even talk about that 570 million. Because we know we gave it to someone to construct a hospital, and that person must be held accountable either today or tomorrow. But for the person you gave money, 800 million or even 8 billion to the net, it's at their discretion. Whether they hide 4 billion and then they give away 4 billion, or if they use the entire 8 billion to distribute it among his or her peers,
Family members.
If you give them to donate.
And we have such kind of money to just be...
Now the challenge is, you may ask, do you have these resources in Uganda? I should say yes, we have the money. But the way we are spending this money, if we spend it in unorganized manner, like I said, from young pro institution, like you have to use the institutions that are available. Now, there is, I think in 2005, we, under the Constitutional Amendment, they introduced the Equal Opportunities Commission. And so this Equal Opportunities Commission, it's under Article 32, I think, of the Constitution. Like, it's mandated to, the people there are mandated to sit down, they plan and they see how our resources are rationalized. Then they make recommendations. When they make recommendations, those who are responsible, let's say if it's about hospitals, okay, in our statistics we are seeing the boat is not balancing. Maybe there are many hospitals in Western Uganda or even Northern Uganda, and there are few hospitals in Central Uganda or even in the East. So those who are responsible, they will sit down based on those recommendations, on even using the money that we give them, and even if it's not enough, they have that, they can ask for more, because we know if we give them this money, they are going to use it in the right channels. But where you're giving this money in form of donations, my friend, we are promoting patronage, because you're the one who decides how to give and even what to use it for. Mr. Philip, let me ask you a question. If I came with 1 million and you're in need of that money, and in most cases, when I'm the one who has put you in that position for you to go onto your knees to need that money, would you ask where I've got that money? You wouldn't, definitely. And even if you did, would you even go further to inquire how much that I had? Let's say, what kind of portion am I giving you? What percentage that I'm giving you? You cannot. Simply, yes, you will just stay and take whatever I give you, yet you are entitled to more than that I'm giving you.
If I unpack the philosophy you try to create in that last segment, you say government has put citizens in some position, impoverished, and they are in need, dire need of money. And government officials have money to donate. Therefore, they must point at who to do what so that they get some money. Is it what you say?
Okay, I wouldn't say it's government, because there are people who are in government that are doing well in terms of what is expected of them. So we should be looking at individuals in government, because this government is for all of us. Whether you voted for it or you did not vote for it, it's yours. And there are people, there are good people who serve the interests of the people, and there are those who are against the interests of the people. So I'm referring to those, and in fact, they are just those few individuals that are messing up with our funds. not generally. They are just a few people who are holding power. They have access to these resources. They have access to the Bank of Uganda. They are at the table in terms of decision making. And those cannot be many. It cannot be, you could be part of government, but you cannot be part of that system that is deciding on what you or Khule or Comfort is going to receive. They're just selected individuals.
Thank you so much. And indeed, it cannot be me. It has to be some very few people up there who are in charge of those resources. Mr. Khule,
Yes.
you did
Mr.
talk
Phillip.
about a school in your district, and this brings me to something. The magnitude of how citizens are cheated. I want you to paint a picture of how much citizens in your home village, in your district, in your where you go to school, how much are citizens cheated in this kind of arrangement?
Yeah, Mr. Phillip, before I talk about that, I would add something small on what Mr. Haruna said. He's trying to run away, accepting that it is government that has actually made people poor so that it can choose on what to do on them. To me, I have to say that, I have to vividly say that with the way I look at it, I see it is really government playing all this game. Because the head of state is the president of the country, and all these scandals that have been happening, the Mabati thief, the Mabati thieves that went viral, the parliament exhibition where we are seeing a lot of messes, and the president of the country with all his authority, and these are people in his NRM, he is acting, blind. I call it quadrantropic blind, because it is very easy. Me, I believe in Mr. Museveni, by the way. He's a good man, has tried to follow up some of the structures that have been said. But there is a saying that if you stay for so long, you spoil it. But he's acting as if he's not seeing all these messes. Because people in the Mabati scandal, there were people around him. Around him, cabinet people. People in the misuse of funds at parliament, there are people he has authority over. People in the NRM, people he can call and sit and tell that this is not being done in the right way. This is, but he's not, we don't know whether he's doing it behind curtains, but the people are not giving us positive response that they are learning, because he has to teach them. So he's trying by all means. He brought the PDM, which was very good, and according to the National Development Plan, we're on 3, which prioritizes social development, economic transformation, and infrastructure development. He brought the PDM. This was good, because this was going to go down to the parishes, and it would easily reach the citizen. But you know how people have actually taken it over. Now we understand that PDM was brought for a certain group of people to benefit. But yet the intention of the president was to ensure that there is economic transformation and there is equitable service delivery, so that we can have economic transformation at the grassroots level. But because he's acting blind, he's not looking at people who are...
Is he indeed blind?
No, he's not blind. He's seeing everything that is happening. But I'm saying acting blind, because he's failing to respond.
What could be the inspiration for this acting blind?
The inspiration for the acting blind, I will actually channel it to the question you asked me about how people are being cheated. One, I started by saying that when you stay for so long, you spoil it. And there is a saying in Kiswahili that nyumba njema si mlango. A good house is not a door. Is not determined by its door. So, Mr. Museveni is heading NRM, and when you look at NRM, it has gotten, from evidence, it has gotten opportunists. Because when you look at...
so maybe briefly, if you take that a little slower.
Yes.
So who is the house, who is the door?
The house is... the house
President.
is the NRM.
And the good door?
The good door is the president.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Quite an interesting analogy in there.
Yes.
I want to bring in Comfort briefly before we go into this break. Comfort, you see, when you listen to all these things, you begin to imagine. We have very many leaders in this country. We have the president, we have ministers, we have members of parliament, we have councillors at the districts, we have councillors in the cities, lord mayors, we have youth councillors, very many leaders, about 2 million of them in this country. Are they all the same? What is failing us from getting those trailblazers that can actually do what is to transform this country?
To answer your question, our leaders are not all of them are the same. We have leaders who are opportunists, and you have leaders who have really tried to help the community, who have tried to, stand their values.
Exactly.
We also have kinds of leaders who are delivering their services not because because they are counting something ahead, like they are doing something, they are delivering services because maybe they are targeting on the 2026 elections. But those kind of leaders are not going to serve wholeheartedly. They're going to wait for a period of time when they'll go and, lie to people, maybe try to construct temporary roads in their communities, whereby they're not even going to use their own money. They are using government money to construct those roads, but they've been quiet for a very long period of time. But they're coming at the last minute to at least do something for them to, be voted back into power. So I think our country needs to maybe get very good leaders. All the leaders that we have should be learned, they should learn on how to maybe have different values and hold on to those values, be patriotic leaders so that you can have a better community. But unless otherwise, I don't think we're going to develop.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for those amazing, submissions. The Inter-University Debates takes a very short break, and we shall be right back.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
That freedom break, it is the Inter-University Debates on Civic Space TV. I am Phillip Muliisa. Today, the discussion is about service delivery in this country. Should we do it the donations way? And this has a background of having billions of shillings put in several offices of government for people to give out at will, at personal discretion, or should it be equitable service delivery? Now, joining me in that conversation is Nyombi Haruna, Kashemire Comfort, and Khule here. Ladies and gentlemen, where we left off, we are talking of the accountability and how it is failing us in this country. But I want us now, as young people, to be idealistic. And I'll start with you, Khule.
Yes, Mr. Philip.
When you look at these monies, the monies put in these offices, but also the other monies that are put in the institutions we talked about, in the Ministry of Health, in the education recently. So when they were releasing primary leaving examinations, the minister made a statement which was quite unfortunate, at least on my side, that government cannot trace 1-point-something million learners.
Yes.
They cannot be traced, leave alone they did not complete. Now
Yes.
you have about 3 million that did not complete, but you have a 1 million they cannot trace. And one of the reactions that come out is the fact that when you go to school, when you're registering baby class or primary 1, they take your details, your names, where you come from, the names of your parents, your contacts, and so on. And people have national IDs even. They take national identification numbers of parents and so on. When government says they cannot trace 1 million citizens of this country, it is real unfortunate. But I want to ask you,
Yes.
how best, in your view, can these monies now, if they are channeled back from the donation docket from wherever they have been mismanaged, how best can they be used to better this country in terms of service delivery?
Yes, Mr. Philip, I'll begin by saying that, one, we have to believe that we have a structure of governance of this country. And I will also say that there is a saying in Kiswahili that chui hakumbatiwi, meaning that there is no way you can hold a leopard like you want to be in peaceful terms with a leopard.
Chui hakumbatiwe. Oh, you know, that reminds you know, we have a production by the National Enterprise Corporation. We have a military vehicle named Chui. So I was thinking, what does this Chui mean? So it's a leopard.
So
Okay.
chui hakumbatiwi, and also kupoteza mulango ndio kujua mulango.
Wow.
The moment you get lost,
I wish this conversation was in Swahili.
yes, the moment you get lost, you definitely find the way. For example, if you are going somewhere and you find yourself lost, then you will find the correct way
to get
so,
out of
kupoteza njia ndio kujua njia.
Poteza njia ndio kujua njia.
Yes, so when you lose the route, you will definitely find the route. Now, this takes me to the point that, sincerely speaking, the country is doing bad. As far as corruption is concerned, as far as selfishness amongst leaders is concerned, as far as greediness is concerned, we are topping it as Uganda. And the beauty with it is that we have the head of state. Me, I love referring to him because I know, as far as Uganda is concerned, as far as we are to progress on in peaceful terms, he has the decision. So I would refer to him that, as I said, chui hakumbatiwi. It is time. It is time for him to review the structures. Yes, we said if you stay for so long, you spoil it. Even if you have spoiled it, even if it is already spoiled, but it is time we should review. There is no way you can keep on sitting on the leopard.
Do you think
Yes.
he's still credible to be where he is?
To be sincere, I would, in response to that, I would refer to there is a certain article by Senior Counsel Kabumba of Makerere University where he talked of the illusion of the Ugandan constitution. So as far as the illusion is still holding, he is still credible because the constitution is still eluded. So he will only not be credible if we as citizens choose to remove the illusion on our constitution.
I like how you illusionary dodge my question.
And then actually on what you asked me, the truth is when you go back to the citizens, I'm going to give reference of my area of origin. I come from a place called Kakuka in Bundibujo. It is very far. It is actually the last village in Uganda at the border of Congo.
Oh.
So when you go there, I'm telling you the truth. If you're really human, like I've talked of donation, these humanitarians, if they reach there, a real humanitarian will not live without shedding tears. Because when you look at the school itself, the primary school for the students,
You
I
know,
mean for
you
the
say
pupils.
primary school, meaning it's one.
Yeah, when you look at the primary schools, let me be general. When you look at the primary schools there, you will really shed tears. Because when you look at the structure, like we have a school called the Kasaka Primary School. That school, when you look at its structure, I'm telling you, you would love to, you would imagine that it is maybe a kin of dogs, you know, something of that kind. And this is a government-aided school, government-founded and government-funded. But it has no structures, and there is a population that is targeting. There are pupils that are supposed to attend their education studies on that school, but the school is just I don't know how I can describe it. I think a tree would be better if one established a school under a tree. It would be better. But we are having large sums of money are being put in the docket of the Speaker's office as donations. Whom is he donating to? You get the point? And I always prefer referring to the Public Fund Management Act because it highlights everything. It talks about accountability and reporting. If you have been allocated this money for donations, have you accounted for the money? Are you reporting to the taxpayers? Because these are the people who give the money. But as far as this government is concerned, I have to say that the moment the moment our president keeps on kukumbatiaring the chui, the moment he keeps on massaging the leopard, then the situation will get out of hand. You know, we have calm citizens. By the way, Ugandans are very humble and peaceful people. But whatever is happening in the country, you can check on Senegal. Quick reaction, but we are calm. We are expecting that the best will actually come our way, like we have said, for God and our country. And we believe God is having a way for us.
That tree does not in the end bite the president that is massaging it. Nonetheless, I don't call for that.
Yeah, everything is possible. In Uganda, everything is now possible.
Kashemire, when you look at what we talk about now, we are looking for, you know, alternatives. When you look at the girl child in this country, we are celebrating Women's Day on the 8th. And one of the things that have kept lingering around the media, on people's citizens talk about it, in Parliament it has been discussed, is the question of the sexual health of ladies. And government at some point promised to provide pads to Ugandan girls in schools, at churches, everywhere. Until today, government has failed. And when you look at, for example, the budget at the presidency for donations, you combine it with the budget at the speakership, you combine it with the budget at the OPM, and so many others. It's a lot of money. Should we imagine this issue of pads has failed to reach, one, the ears of the president, but two, the ears of all parliamentarians and so on?
Okay, the issue of pads, I believe that it has reached the ears of those people, but maybe it's not part of their interest. They are not interested in the girl child. Maybe their donations are focused on some particular activities.
They are not interested in the girl child.
Okay, I'm not saying they are not interested in the girl child.
You see, that's a very serious statement to make. For example, our government, the vice president is a lady, the prime minister is a lady, the minister of education is a lady, the minister of energy is a lady, the minister of Karamoja is a lady. I can go on and on, the speaker and so many others. These are ladies. Why are they not coming out for the girl child?
Like I had said, they are ladies, but that is not where their interest is. Their interest is not on, maybe the sexual health, the sexual reproductive health of the girl child.
How sad that can be.
Yeah, it's sad, but at least since they've not donated the parts to them, then that means it's the reality. They are not interested in maybe their sexual health, reproductive health.
Do they deserve to be in those positions?
Yeah, they deserve to be in those positions because we are looking at a government that maybe empowers women. But now the women that we have empowered, if they do not take the lead to empower other ladies, then it's a disgrace to our community. They deserve to be in those positions if they themselves now choose to turn to the ladies and empower them, maybe educate them, hold summits that empower their fellow ladies. But if they are now turning their interest in some other particular activities that do not favor the girl child, I do not think they deserve to be in those positions. Maybe we can get other ladies who would really bring that out and be in their positions.
Philip, you have to be realistic.
Please.
For the question you asked her, are we really sure they are representing our interests? Are they to represent our interests?
That is a very
Okay,
big
if you're
question.
talking about ladies, those that you have mentioned, I won't reiterate the names you've said and even their titles. Are they there to represent the interests of the girl child or the interests of those that appointed them to those positions? But there's one book, like, even when we see those people in those positions, let's say, the vice president, the prime minister, and even the deputies, those were ladies. Some book, I know you know it, the book, I won't mention it here. And the person was like, when they asked, they raised it to the president. Then, before this person wrote the book, they were like, the president asked, do you think they are there because they are supposed to be there? In terms of appointment, like you see someone is in a bigger position where you feel, okay, at least this person can
if
serve
I
us.
borrow the president's message and words, he did classify them as fisher women. Does that bring out the true image of these people in these offices?
So that means there's someone seated somewhere waiting for fish, and they have sent their workers to go and get that fish for them,
So
to collect it,
interesting.
so that they can sell it.
Wow.
Have you sensed that?
Mr. Philip.
Philip?
Yes.
Khule talked
Briefly,
about the
let him
parish,
finish,
he
then
talked
you
about
can-
the parish development model. And I think these are some of the things that we've been talking about here, that it's not now a parish development model. It's a parish donation model. You know what? There have been several reports that if you, Philip, went to register, even if with your peers, you formed a group to get that money, you cannot access it unless you're part of those people who have been targeted to be the beneficiaries, who have been planned to be the beneficiaries of that kind of money. How? If you're my supporter and I'm the one in charge of that money, definitely you're going to get even more than you want or more than you need. Yet there are people who are even more organized and they need that kind of money.
But you see, Haruna, if I engage on that particular issue,
Yes.
when government sends money to Khule in Kasaka, at Kasaka Parish, government expects Khule to make use of that money, give out to circles objectively, irrespective of support and any other things.
Ideally, that's what it's supposed to be.
How do you then choose government for the undertakings of Khule?
I am not accusing government, but I'm setting the facts. That ideally, there should have been structures. Like, if we are setting up such a plan for the parish development model, I quote the word development because I do not believe in it right now. There should be a well-structured form, and so that we can easily identify who is in this place. Are they even qualified to be there to maybe run this kind of system here? But these are people that have been handpicked because they support so and so, and therefore they are supposed to manage this fund.
Again, if I
How
help
can
you
you hold
with,
those people
if I
accountable?
help you with a bit of information,
Yes.
at the start, money was sent to the district account, then sent to the parishes for the circles. And when that system got challenges, they developed a new system where the parishes submit the account numbers of the circle to Ministry of Finance, and Ministry sends money directly from the treasury to the circle at the parish. Is that
Exactly.
serving better?
It would have served better if now this structure, there is transparency, by the way. if there is transparency. But there's no transparency. And where there's no transparency, there's no accountability. First of all, in fact, we shouldn't only talk about the parish development model. Let's go before even the parish development model was started. All those programs that were the youth livelihood program, the Ntandikwa, even the Operation Wealth Creation itself, they will never go the prosperity for all. It's because people that have been managing all those things, they are not there in a transparent manner. Someone just handpicks them because you're so and so son, you come to manage this fund. So you also gather the people that you know. We share the money. The other aspect was about, they talked about the donations vis-a-vis what we are getting out. Recently in the parliamentary exhibition, we got to learn that the speaker gets about 400 million per week just to spend it. Do you know how much 400 million can do? We are all students here, and at least the minimum that one would require to pay for tuition a semester is 2 million. At least 2 million will be enough for someone to pay for a semester to attend education. Now, someone is receiving 400 million, and when you try to divide that, they are using about tuition for 200 students. If we equitably, if we fail in just 1 week, so that means in a month, someone is using tuition for a student that they would have paid for 2 years. You get that?
You know, you create that analogy. And
Philip, before you come in,
briefly.
But just, briefly, on that amount, like, if you are looking at fair distribution of resources, like I alluded earlier on, that it must be in a structured form where we are having institutions. Such money, before we give it to you, we must be sure, is it going to benefit at least a larger group of people, or it's only going to benefit you? If it's going to benefit you alone, then there's no essence of giving it to you, because there are other people that need that kind of money. And this is what we call for, equity. If you are only giving this particular money, this whole sum of money that would have benefited the majority of citizens to only one person, then it's disenfranchising the others.
Thank you, Nyombi. Yes, I know you want to say something.
Yes, Mr. Philip.
As you bring out what you want to say, one thing he points out is handpicking of individuals. I think this speaks to the recruitment process of government.
Yes.
Is it a fair one?
Yeah, Mr. Philip and our dear viewers there, I would love to tackle that, referring to a statement he said, fisher women. I actually got to know the book where you were hiding, but that book is very clear, and it really sheds the whole picture of what.
Feel free to say it.
No, I would say it if as go personnel has feared to say it, or am I just a midwife? So, one, if we are having fisher women, and then we're having now the one who will eat the fish seated there, deploying the fisher women to do the work for him, we definitely see that the interest in which these fisher women will serve will not be for the citizens, of which we have the contractual relationship with the government, with these fisher women in their respective mandates, to serve us fairly and equally. But you find that because there is someone who deployed them for his own interest, that's why me I've always referred to Mr. Museveni, because he's the absolute. He's the absolute. The book is clear, the fisher women, and the person who will eat the fish is well stated. So that's why me, whenever I'm making any submission or any critique against the government, I refer to Mr. Museveni, because he has the absolute decision. The judiciary, the legislature, the executive, all the three arms of the government are actually in one person.
Say that again?
Philip is
Yes, and it is evident, Mr. Philip, it is evident. It is evident. This
Wow.
is a civic space, and I'm free to say that out.
Please
So
feel
it's Freedom House.
you are on the Freedom platform
Yes.
and feel free to put out anything
Yes,
the way
and
you
then
want
he
to
talked
put it out.
of when you asked him about accusing government over PDM. Yes, yet in actual sense he would accuse the people that are actually handling the PDM finances. Of course, now if there was a cow somewhere handling the PDM money, and then he heard of the speaker and the parliamentary commission that allocated themselves money that is not accountable, and though it is, as people have tried to defend it, that it is their mandate to have the money, but there is a leader behind there handling PDM money, and he hears that a top leader has actually been involved in a scandal of looting over 500 million. Someone is enjoying the mavati that was made for Karamajongs. What do you expect that person who is actually poor? Because I believe those people down there, they are not at the level of these top leaders as far as wealth is concerned.
Exactly.
So definitely, there is a picture that the government, the system has set from the top, that practicing corruption at the lower level is normal.
You know, when I read what you say,
Yeah.
towards the end of the 10th Parliament,
Yes, Mr.
members of Parliament tried to give themselves gratuity of 20 million shillings each.
Yes.
And there was an order from State House for every member of Parliament to return this money.
Yes.
And they actually did return the money.
Yes.
How come we do not have such an order today?
For your
Yes, and
information,
that
for your
is-
information before it comes in,
Yes.
when they ordered them to return, again they gave them money. It's
Yes,
now
of course,
said
they-
that
they gave them more.
more than they had.
So, Mr. Philip, when you ask me why this order is not coming in, the reference is clear. State House. And that is where the problem of this country is lying. Actually, that's why me I've always wanted to refer to Jaja. Yes. He's a good person, but he has to critically analyze that he's killing the country.
Can he still analyze?
I actually think he can.
It's skeptical.
Because by the fact that he can go to graze some cows, he's still energetic. He's still a strong man, but he has spoilt it because of overstaying. But my message is that the truth is he's actually leaving us hopeless. He has talked of securing our future, but when you look at the way resources are distributed under his regime of recent. Previously, I'm told, I've been interacting with some of my grandfathers, grandmothers. They really praise him because he used to do good. But now, that's why I've said that chui hachikumbatiwi. He's sitting on the leopard. It is time he could actually, because if he really needs the power, let him associate himself with people who will help him think on how this power should be handled in the benefit of the citizens.
And a direct question.
Yes,
If
Mr.
he indeed did associate himself with people, values, people who can do things right,
Yes.
do you think he has the leeway now to be there for as long as he intends?
Yeah, to be sincere, you know, government has three arms. It has the legislative arm, the executive, and the judiciary. So if all these arms are actually, we have people who are capable, patriotic people handling all these arms, then I would have no problem with him being in power.
Thank you.
Yes, maybe before
And unfortunately, I have to involve
Yes.
her briefly.
Okay.
Time won't allow extra conversation about that. Kashemire Comfort, Madam, I want to ask you, let's talk government expenditure, other than the billions in donation and so on. When you look at our members of parliament, the kind of money they get, every start of a term, 200 million to buy a car, actually 210. Every month they get anything between 20 and 40 million shillings as salary. These are politicians. Then they get another portion for transportation to their constituencies, allowances for sittings, go to ministers, everyone is given a car, government gives them fuel, government gives them plus MPs tablets. I can, for easy understanding, I can call them mobile phones. They increase their salaries every other year, every other month. Come to government departments, people are driving big cars, very expensive cars. I don't know the criteria of buying cars. You see someone in a ministry driving a Land Cruiser and someone in an agency or at a similar rank is driving a different kind. I don't know how that plays out. You see directors have convoys, just directors. Someone has 3 cars and they're all government cars. They are paid for, they have fuel, they are maintained. Then talk about the security they move around with. Can we sustain this as a country? Is it sustainable? Can we manage these finances? Where do we even get them from?
Thank you so much, moderator. Us as a country, particularly, we cannot sustain that kind of expenditure. Because first of all, you realize that 9 out of 10 of people in Uganda, according to the, let's say, it's according to, okay, the Uganda Labor Force Survey, it was done in 2023. 9 out of 10 people operate in the informal sector. So you realize the informal sector has the highest people who dodge taxes. So that means, first of all, we have a low tax base because we do not collect enough taxes from our country. Another thing, you know, we have a debt burden as a country. We are paying debts of about which years I do not know. From the time I was born, I used to hear Uganda has debts up to now, and the debts are accumulating because these people are driving vehicles. Our parliamentarians are enjoying lavish salaries and service delivery awards, of which we don't even have the services, the real services delivered to the people. So I think we should, like, us as the economy of Uganda, we cannot sustain that kind of expenditure. But now what do we do if we cannot sustain that kind of expenditure? But now you see the problem comes in when those particular people are the ones supposed to now award, like decide on which kind of awards are supposed to be given to this kind of people. They will sit in parliament and be like, we have, okay, the parliamentary commission will sit and be like, service delivery award of 500 million to the parliamentary commissioner. So I think we should now revise on the structures of who should dictate on what kind of money that people should receive. That would be the best way to go.
Thank you. And I think I should engage you, Haruna. Yes. Let's talk power, the kind of authority one wields in a public office. When you look at the presidency, he has the power to appoint almost all the big offices in the country. He appoints the CDF, he appoints the Prime Minister, the Vice President, he appoints the clerk to Parliament, he appoints, I don't know, ministers, very many offices, and until recently now he even does appoint the cows at the district. This kind of power, are we in safe hands?
You know, whereas the Constitution provides for decentralization of power from the central government to the lower local governments, you realize that power is still centralized, and not only just centralized in the central government, but there's a lot of power in the presidency. Because you realize all the significant offices, those that are so critical, the position, those areas where they're supposed to appoint, the president's hand has to be involved legally, because the accounting officers in the ministries, he does appoint even the clerks at the district level, the cows, the chief administrative officers, you know, from there. And those people where there is critical work in terms of allocation of money. And therefore, we find this as a challenge that the president, like said earlier on, he has powers, more or less they're absolute. When you look at our constitution, he has immunity, he enjoys a lot of immunity. So even when things go wrong, you may not hold him liable for those things that have gone wrong, yet maybe under vicarious liability would be held responsible for whatever has gone wrong. But realize, so in the presidency, because he has that a lot of power in that capacity as the president, if it's mixed even with things like nepotism, that it must be open, it's there. Quite a number of challenges that will come with that. And so it cannot be addressed, and it's a legal challenge, I should say, that we have to think a little different. How do we reduce on the power of the president? But also building institutions. How do we make sure that our institutions, first of all, they are independent, but they are also strong? Because there are even circumstances where the president is not involved, but someone, because they are seated in their small office, they are their alpha and omega. But because they were appointed by someone, even when this person is not concerned with what they are doing, their wrongdoings, because they are there because of that, how do they call it? They are above, that person above. So even these institutions, they fear to come in and intervene to check on the wrongs of these individuals that are in the government agencies. So I think we should look at building our institutions to make them strong and also independent, to see to it that at least we can hold people accountable to whatever they are doing, and also empowering the citizens. I've talked about this several times whenever I'm here, that you've done a good job at Civic Space and Center for Constitutional Governance, but we need to, as a country, to continue and even put in more efforts to ensure that our people are empowered in terms of awareness of what is right and what is wrong, what their rights are, what they are supposed to do, to hold their leaders accountable. When we're in the break, I won't say that, but you realize many of the people in this country, because some of them are ignorant of what they are entitled to, they cannot speak to power and say, this is what I want, or this is what you're supposed to do.
How much should the president appoint, in your view?
I think there should be room.
For example, if you look at the officers he appoints today, he has RDCs, chief administrative officers, the electoral commission, accounting officers in ministries, heads of government, MDAs. Which office do you think he should not be appointing at such a time?
I won't be particular, but he has a lot to do that now as a country must sit down and reduce on that burden. There shouldn't be special, let's say, special kind of officers or officers that are appointed to do some of the things that the president is doing. For instance, if it's about this public service, yes, you must be aware that, well, there is a public service commission, but still it's the president that appoints the head of the public service commission. When you go to the judicial service commission, still is the case. There should be, I think, under our constitution,
including judges and so on.
You know, they come from, but those people that again they're appointing. Maybe if you're talking about the judicial service commission, it's going to appoint those who head it, and so through the judicial service commission is when we are going to get the judges. But remember, he's the one who appointed the other, the overall committee. So basically, he even has interest in that, and so it could be very hard for someone to come and serve in the judiciary if the president is not interested that person coming. You know the problem that we've been having with one of the justices of the Supreme Court.
I want to engage Khule on that particular issue. When you look at the appointments made by the president, one, which appointments do you think he should not be making in 2024? But two, when one appoints you, then you are a vehicle for his or her views. What you see in delivering this country, the way education is managed, the way health is managed, the way security is managed, is that the mind of the president?
Yeah, Mr. Philip, I would love to disagree a bit with Mr. Nyombi, in that for me, in my perception, presidential appointments, there's no problem with that. He has the right to appoint who he wants to appoint as the constitutional mandate. I'm looking at this as football, a football match, and I am the coach. Yes, I am the coach. The goal is to win the opponent's team. And winning the opponent's team is ensuring that there is equitable, the citizens are accessing the services. So as the coach, as the team coach or the team manager, I have the mandate to substitute a player, in having it in mind that the goal is to score, and then we get the 3 points. And the 3 points is ensuring that the citizens access the services.
Don't you think
yes,
the technical team, the technical bench should have a role in the appointments you make?
The role of the technical bench in the appointments, it is, I have to say it is not viable, because I am the team coach, yes. Yes, the role of the technical team might be of help, as it will help me in decision making. Which striker should I use? But me as the coach, I have to be observant. If I use this striker, is he a capable goal scorer? You get the point. So the problem comes in that for the case relating to our government now, for us now, the team coach, who is the appointing authority, the president of the country, is rather appointing the Maguires, the Salibas, who are actually scoring own goals. Side is quite good,
now,
but
that's where the problem is.
Mr.
If you
Phillip,
make the appointment,
yes,
then there must be checks and balances.
yes.
So there are room for checks and balances. For instance, if you're talking about appointment of the foreign envoys, maybe ambassadors, it's the president that's appointing these people. Do we have that room where we can check the credibility of the people that are being appointed in those positions? I would say no. This is because Philip has stood for maybe position LOC5 somewhere and he has failed. Okay, let me send him to maybe Canada and become our ambassador there. When indeed he cannot perform to the expectations of what we expect of him as a country.
Yes.
But because it's serving it's in your interest, so you send him there. There must be a procedure. It's not a problem when the president is interested in appointing someone, but that person should go through a procedure that is transparent, where we can even stand out and say, okay, this one is not fit.
Yes.
But that is
Mr. Nyombi,
yes.
I think you're looking at it in the perspective of Uganda. Because I have to say, Uganda, we're having it in the worst way. That's why we are trying to criticize it. But in other words, the president in the State House has members. He has different units, that are of much help as far as he's doing the appointments. But now you find that for him, he has a hidden agenda that we Ugandans are beginning to view its nakedness, whereby he's appointing someone because he wants that someone to help him achieve a certain goal of keeping Ugandans poor so that they can live in that beggar situation. So that is the agenda he is having, and that's why we are criticizing his appointments. But
so
in
then,
actual sense,
if the president has appointed the best team,
yes, Mr. Phillip, it is not
and
the best.
That team has not scored at
Yes.
Lubowa, that team has not scored at Mulago,
Yes.
that team has not scored at Uganda Airlines, that team has not scored at the Ministry of Education, that team has not scored even at garbage management in the city.
Yes.
Why is he not making substitutions?
Yes. So that is why I said that questioning his appointments would not be a big issue. But what we would be looking at is he making substitutions that are of benefit? For example, he actually brought someone from the opposition, that is Norbert Mao, to take over the Constitutional Justice Ministry. But this is already someone that the opposition is looking at as someone who is scoring own goals. Yes? Someone who's already scoring own goals at his own team, now you're signing him to come and score for your team. And definitely that's why we are having opportunists in the NRM government.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I
I have to cut you short, and I have to cut you short. I'll give you a minute later. Please reserve it. I want to involve Comfort briefly on the issue of appointments and the officials we have. And I want you to be very brief. Do you think there are some particular levels where the president should not be appointing? You know, he appoints very many officers, cows, RDCs, ministers, commissioners, accounting officers, the permanent secretaries, electoral commission, everything.
Thank you so much, moderator. I think the president should not be appointing some people in some particular offices. For God's sake, why should the president appoint someone in the electoral commission where he's going to participate?
Because there's no
Appointing the referee.
No, it has no problem.
Sure.
No.
Yes.
You support which team?
No, to be sincere,
You support which team?
I support.
It's okay. Please continue.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, for the sake of independency of the arms of the government, the president should not should not be the one to appoint some people. If we are saying the judiciary is an independent part of the government, but then the member from the executive is the one supposed to appoint someone in the judiciary, that should not really be the case.
Almost all of them.
So I think for the sake of our country being an independent country where we're going to have full democracy, where people are not going to be, intimidated on their decisions, we need to have these organs of the government have their own independence in their decisions, in their appointments, so that you can have a fair government. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give you a minute later.
Yes.
Okay, maybe you can start it, gentlemen, with our time is really very much fast spent, so I'll give you a minute to give out your view, but also your parting shots.
Okay. So, according to what Ms. Comfort is giving in, I look at democracy is not mutually exclusive of presidential appointments. The president can make his appointments when there is democracy. Appointing the members of the EC in a democratic system, it has no problem because the EC will serve the public diligently, and we shall have a free and fair election. But here we are looking at a scenario whereby the system is already rotten. Therefore, the appointments that will be made already, we know that the goal is to keep himself in power. So he's appointing the EC that will perpetuate him on power. But if we had a democratic system, whereby even if he appointed the EC would serve as mandated the interest of the people, transparent, and convene a free and fair election. But here we are talking about it negatively because it is on the other side, whereby we're having a lot of opportunists. We're having someone who wants to be in power until he dies. So that's why we are criticizing his appointments. But for me, I think
you did say you wouldn't mind him being there for as long.
Yes, if he had, I wouldn't mind having him there for as long, if he would learn to associate himself with the patriotic people. You know why I'm saying that? Because to be sincere, if he had patriotic people, it would actually be a weapon to chase him if he's still having the mentality he's having.
Thank you so much, Khule, for those amazing views.
Yes.
You wouldn't mind the president being there for as long, provided he had patriotic people. Yes. Nyombi, you had something to say and your final remarks.
Well, the thing, I'm so much interested in rule of law and the cardinal principles of rule of law, independence of the judiciary and even other institutions generally, where we're having an institution that's standing on its own without the influence of any other person. That's where you can come in and hold the people in that institution to be accountable, and definitely also demand for transparency. But if there is dependence, there is some influence that comes in from a different area, you cannot easily hold the people in this particular institution to account. You get that? because they are not responsible. The other thing you are talked about when the president appoints people, let's say in the city, to take care of the garbage. Then I wanted to ask you, are you sure they are appointed in those positions? Let's say if it's about ensuring that we have a clean city, is that really the intention of the appointing authority, or there are other hidden intentions that we have?
And
So
those are the
that's
problem.
critical. I should be talking about why we need separation
Please,
of powers.
as you conclude.
Yes, as I conclude. One, basically, rule of law is very important because it determines governance. How should people be governed? It gives us a direction on how we should be governed. When you're talking about the institutional framework, how should we have our institutions in a good state, in a functioning state? Separation of powers. You look at creating opportunities for each and every person regardless of where they are. Equitable distribution of resources, as we've been talking about here. Accountability and transparency. So we should look at a country where we prioritize rule of law. All those things can be attained, even when we are having that president, but we have tried to put up a framework that controls their powers. We'll be good to go.
Thank you so much, Councillor Haruna, so much interested in the rule of law, and I hope one day his dream shall be realized. Now, the footballer here did talk about the football and the politics, and one scholar on another show on this specific TV did create an analogy of, we have 81 cabinet ministers, and she did say that if it were a tournament, our cabinet alone is capable of creating 8 teams, which then for that tournament can play the quarterfinals alone. That's something to discuss, and if you add presidential advisors and so on, then certainly you have some spectators in the seats. Comfort, Kashemire. I think I have it now. Kashemire. Oh, it's that easy. Kashemire. Please, your final remarks about the topic and any message specifically for the girl child out there.
Okay, my conclusion would be giving a general overview of our topic today. Should the government depend on donations for service delivery or equitable service delivery? I think both of the two can work hand in hand, but if we are to use donations as a way of giving services to the people of our country, we should first of all now focus on developing value-based leaders who have integrity, leaders who are honest, and leaders who really are in power, not because of their own interests, but they are working for the interest of the people they are serving. That is the best way that donation ideology would work. Then equitable service delivery, it is a good way of delivering services to the people of our nation, but then it comes with loopholes of, the low tax base, like we do not have the needed resources that can facilitate the delivery of all the services that we need in the country equally to all the regions of all the regions of Uganda. And to the girl child out there, please work hard. You are behave like a man in every situation, because you are strong, you are courageous, and you can do everything you can do despite of your gender. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I think you forget to advise them that they can also have natural hair. That is not my really, I come so much in peace. Gentlemen and lady, I want to ask you one final one, and it should be just one answer. Recently there is a debate that says, should our politicians be paid or simply facilitated? And I just want you to mention the side issue, payment or facilitation?
Should facilitate.
Yes.
Payment.
Yes.
Reasonable payment.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us here today, and to your viewers, thank you so much for being on the Inter-University Debates on Civic Space TV. Remember, this is made possible by the Center for Constitutional Governance. Special thanks to the people behind the machines. We have 2 ladies and a gentleman. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And when you listen to that, 2 ladies and 1, that means that civic space equality is actually equating and
Two on ones.
yeah, 2 on 1. Thank you so much, the ladies, for taking up the space. And from us, we say good evening and may you have freedom always.